We wanted to make such a good first impression.
What do you mean, we?
So here's an unpopular opinion. I never cared much for the original Inside Out. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate it, and it's far too well made to be considered bad. But I often see it labeled as prime Pixar, and I just can't in good conscience put it on the same level as movies like the Toy Story trilogy, Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, WALL-E, or Up. My biggest hang-up has always been that it left me with certain questions about narrative and structural choices. And unlike with Pixar's best work where the movie actively rewards you for digging deeper into its themes, Inside Out wants to push you past those questions so it can throw more ideas at the wall. The worst is in its opening act. Sadness's actions that lead to the film's big conflict are never addressed. They just kind of happen. And as we go along, I keep having more questions. Why introduce this ensemble of 5 characters only to sideline 3 of them? How much of Riley's personality is formed outside of her base emotions and memories? And if the big challenge is to get her core memories back to HQ, why not shoot them back up the same way those random side characters do? And yes, that was the joke from the How It Should Have Ended episode, but the point still stands. Still, it picks up once Bing Bong arrives, and of course I teared up when he sacrificed himself. I may be a film critic, but I'm not heartless. Now, 9 years later, we have a sequel, one I've kind of been dreading given how Pixar has been ever since COVID. But color me shocked. Not only is Inside Out 2 better than its original, I dare say it's the best Pixar sequel since Toy Story 3. And a big part of why is how it addressed issues I had with the first movie. The psychological concepts are deeper, the jokes are funnier, and the ensemble cast actually is kept together for most of the film, and therefore allowed to bounce off of each other and build dynamics. Our story picks up about a year after the original. Riley is now 13, and she has to juggle getting ready for high school, dealing with the news that her 2 best friends will be going to a different school, and attempting to impress her new potential coach and teammates during a weekend hockey camp. Meanwhile, inside her head, that puberty tease from the end of the first movie finally pays off. Now there's 5 new emotions to work with, the control panel barely works for Joy and the original gang, and everyone is struggling to help Riley get through this big weekend. The movie got me on board pretty early by introducing a new system that further develops Riley's personality through personal beliefs and self-identity. But what kicked it into high gear was the arrival of Anxiety, Maya Hawke's well-meaning but ultimately destructive antagonist. At first, she seems like an important new arrival to the team, but she quickly hijacks HQ, kicks Joy and company out, and tries to rebuild Riley's identity from scratch in increasingly unhealthy ways. As someone who deals with anxiety in their own life, I was shocked by how well her character was handled. At first, anxiety can feel like this helpful tool in helping prepare for future events, but it can easily overpower all other emotions and leave you mentally frozen in what can best be described as a layer of brain static. I did not think I'd see a better interpretation of anxiety and panic attacks than what Big Mouth did in its early seasons, but the movie's climax managed to outdo it. I doubt kids will get it, but if you're a teenager or an adult who struggles with anxiety, you'll feel seen by how her arc is ultimately resolved. And while there isn't the emotional gut punch on the level of Bing Bong, there's plenty more to like. Joy has to learn yet another lesson about how to let Riley develop into a well-rounded person. Riley gets more to do in her real-world subplot. I loved the Blue's Clues and Final Fantasy parodies the group run into. The new jokes for concepts like sarcasm all hit, and I liked all the new character additions, even if Envy doesn't get to do much besides encourage anxiety, and nostalgia is just there as a recurring gag. I wouldn't say Inside Out 2 is a game changer, nor is it good enough for me to declare Pixar is quote-unquote back. You need a lot more than just 1 or 2 decent films to get within shouting distance of that original golden era. But in a year where we keep biting our nails over weekend box office numbers, I'm just glad to see Pixar can still pull out a win. Give this one a watch, but don't just wait for it to hit Disney+. Thanks for watching.